Me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
Okay, so this isn't necessarily a ghost story per se, but when I saw this, it brought something to my mind and I wanted to share it with each and every one of you. Now, you've probably seen this on this app before, videos about this type of thing, especially on native TikTok, but there's an old belief amongst indigenous people that you don't whistle at night. Now, we're taught as indigenous people that we're not supposed to talk about such things because it does involve our spirituality. And we are taught that we do not share anything about that. It's a huge taboo. You don't do it. Don't talk about it. Don't record it. Don't do nothing with it. And there's a whole reason for that as well. But I think that this is very educational, and I don't think it crosses any lines. And you know what I mean when I get there. And this is not to take away from anyone's belief. If you really believe that this is your belief, if this is your tradition, by all means adhere to it. And it's not to take away from any of the spiritual side of it. I'm just not going to talk about that, nor should you. But I think that it's important to understand that a lot of our beliefs, a lot of our stories and our mythologies and our teachings come from real life situations. And they come from real danger. And I'm not talking about any unforeseen force. I'm not talking about, anything like that. It comes from a real life or death situations. And what you need to understand is that Native people, just like everyone else on the entire planet, we had squabbles, we had warfare, we battled with other tribes in our areas. We're no different than anyone else. And a lot of these tribes fought in very guerrilla warfare type of ways, right? Even to this day, many of our tribes, we practice things like horse stealing songs. We're singing horse stealing songs or victory songs, scouting songs, and sneaking up on the enemy, right? These are all things that we did. That was our type of warfare. So it was very covert. It was very in the shadows, a lot of the ways that we fought. And so what would happen was that because we understood our tribal neighbors, the ones that we were typically fighting with, that we understood them to a degree, that we understood a lot of their beliefs, a lot of their fears, their story. We knew those things. And oftentimes we would make sure to go out of our way to use those things against our enemies. So when we'd go out and scout a camp, when we'd go and steal horses in the middle of the night, or we would raid something at night, right? What we would often do is that we would paint ourselves or disguise ourselves in ways that would strike fear into the enemy. So ghostly white stripes, things of that nature. And when we would go out in the middle of the night to sneak up on a camp, our way of communicating was through whistling. So you would whistle to one side, they'd whistle back to try to mimic the sounds of nature. But we also understand that whistling is not really a natural sound that's heard in nature at night. So we try to be a little covert. And what would happen was that the other tribe would hear this whistling at night. And whistling at night often meant that something bad was going to happen. Rather, they were going to get attacked and possibly unalived. But it also meant that they could be attacked and then survive to carry on these stories of horror, of ghosts, of ghouls in the night that would show up after a whistle. And over time of these things happening and survivors telling stories and saying they weren't attacked by an enemy, they were attacked by ghosts, they were attacked by spirits, they were attacked by something, that it evolved over time into this belief that whistling calls these things into you. And that's kind of where we're at today. Now again, that's not to take away from anyone's belief, not taking away that away at all. That's a whole different conversation and not one for this platform. But I did want to share that because I do think there's some validity to it. And I think it's very educational. And it's also something that I get asked a lot. So I wanted to share that with you guys. So hope you enjoyed it.